I was born in Georgia, lived in Georgia all my life until college, raised in Athens, and we bounced around churches. I was baptized in a Methodist church, and then when we moved to Athens, we struggled going to church just because we didn't have friends. I have two brothers and a sister, and none of us felt comfortable at the Methodist church for whatever reason. A friend of my brother's invited him to the Presbyterian church, which was just in the neighborhood, and he went and enjoyed it. And that fall, I decided to go as well and found out I had a bunch of friends, and my sister found out she had a bunch of friends. And I think my mom decided if we were happy and had friends in church and wanted to go to church, then she could be happy too. And she had a number of friends as well. She was friends with our friends' parents. And so it just, we were attracted to the church because of the community and because of the people and how kind they were. And so after graduating high school, went to college, a small college in South Carolina, and wanted to study education, was going to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher, but that just didn't quite feel right. Some kind of serving industry felt important to me, but education didn't seem like what my gifts were best suited for. And did a year as a volunteer mission with the Presbyterian Church. They have a program for young adults, and was placed in England and enjoyed that time immensely. And there I worked with an excellent staff team who really helped me discern my call to ministry and equip me and prepare me to serve the church in some ways. And so after I returned from that time, I went to seminary outside of Atlanta at Columbia Seminary. And while I was there, I met my wife, Brandy, and we were married my last year. And after that, we were called to serve in South Carolina and her hometown where she grew up, and we were near family, which was great. And we're there for close to 18 years. Our daughters were born there. They're now 15 and almost 17 years old, which is hard to believe for us that we have children that old. But we are excited to be in Southwest Florida and eager to serve in this presbytery and grateful for the calls that God has given to us to be here. Cypress Lake, as this opportunity became available and I was told about it by Presbytery people, I started to do some research on the church and ask questions about Pastor Clint and ask questions about the congregation and its reputation and thing. We all do that when we're told about a church. And everything I heard about the congregation was glowing. The leadership was outstanding. The congregation was outstanding. Everything was wonderful. A great church. And not just people within the presbytery who told me those things, but friends outside the presbytery and who worked with the larger church. Everybody had nothing but great things to say about the church. With Brandy being at Faith over in Cape Coral, we were looking for a possibility for me to serve in different ways and ways to use my gifts. And again, an interim position is something that I feel called to do, and I feel like over the last few years and my last 5 or 6 experiences within the church have equipped me to lead times of transition. And so it's just almost like a perfect storm of opportunity that came together and that led me to this place. And I can't wait to get to know the people better. I think the first impressions that I had being here in this area were I can't believe we live here. A friend of mine's in Wyoming. He sent me a text the other day saying it was snowing on his way to church. And I told him it felt like it was 100 degrees here. And he should come down here because it seems to be much better. It's a wonderful place. We've never been bothered with heat. People are cautioning us about the heat here. It gets this hot in South Carolina. And so we're used to it. We like it. We don't mind it at all. And it's, the location is just, it really is amazing. Well, passages, when I'm asked about my favorite scripture passages, I immediately just jump to stories. And there are so many stories that resonate with me. One of them will be the Old Testament text assigned for my first Sunday here, the story of Naaman the commander who goes to see Elisha. He has leprosy and is told to go wash in the river 7 times. Another is the story of Abraham and Sarah and his call and his faithfulness in following God to unknown lands. Stories Jesus told, stories of the prodigal, illustrations from the Sermon on the Mount. There are a number of stories and acts about how God is at work in new and surprising ways, and nobody fully understood and nobody expected God to do the things that God did in those times and in those particular ways, and they kind of buckled in for a wild ride and held on tightly to see what was going to happen next, because things were changing day after day after day. And the church, when they were open to the ways the Spirit was at work, when they're open to the possibility that God was going to do something new with them, they found that they were blessed incredibly. And I think that translates to the church today, to hopefully to Cypress Lake, to the larger church as well. We when we're open to the Spirit, when we're open to seeing how God moves among us in ways we could never expect, yet in ways that are consistent with the ways God has acted in the past, then we find ourselves greatly blessed. I've run a lot of races in my life. I started running in middle school, and so competed through middle school, competed in college, and really picked it back up within the last 10 years. And when I turned 40, a few years back, I decided I would run a marathon, and competed my first marathon then, and was slightly disappointed in the way I did, like I think everybody who runs their first marathon. And around mile 20, 21, started to think, what in the world am I doing? This was the dumbest idea I've ever had. And when you cross the finish line, you start thinking about the next one. I've run several since then, spent some time today looking at the next race, possibly trying to figure out which one will work. And so enjoy those. My favorite distance is the half marathon. My daughter Lucy runs, our younger daughter runs. She is super fast, and she's faster than me at the shorter distances. And so it's fun to see her do something that I have a love for and really enjoy doing. And I try not to be the overbearing father and coach her along too much. I'm a Presbyterian because God called me to be a Presbyterian. I was baptized in the Methodist Church. In college especially, went to a number of different churches. Went to a number of Baptist churches, went to some non-denominational churches, and I'm always pulled back into the Presbyterian church. The church in England was a wonderful experience. It was an evangelical church. It was affiliated with the Baptist church in England, and a wonderful place, and grew tremendously in that time. And when I came home, found myself again at home in the Presbyterian church. There are a lot of things the Presbyterian church is doing that I think are wonderful. I think our openness to the Spirit, I think the ways in which we're able to worship differently as suits our congregation's needs is important. And we're not necessarily a one-size-fits-all, but we do have some parameters and things that unite us together that we believe, which I find very helpful. You ask anybody what their favorite hymns are, and they go to Holy, 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 and Amazing Grace, and things like Come Thou Almighty King. Just you get rolling, and you just start thinking of hymns, and I think of where I sang them and where I first heard them, and who I was with and the congregation that I was with, and whether it's a hymn, a traditional hymn, or a contemporary praise song or something like that, it always takes me back to a particular place in particular time with a particular worshiping body. And I find that very moving and really feel the Spirit in those times. Favorite TV shows? Well, we love The Office. We love The Office. We've probably watched that 3 or 4 times, and now it gets to the point where something comes on, we go back to something else. Sports, I like to watch sports on TV. I try to find good British TV shows, and we got into Sherlock. I haven't watched Doctor Who. The good thing about Netflix or Hulu or those services is those shows will be there, so it's not like you miss a season or miss something, you never get to watch it again. So there's so many that are out there that I'll get to watch that, I'm open to suggestions, I guess is one way to put it. I can't wait to get started. My last church was a great church. The church before that was a great church. I look forward to being a part of this congregation for this time and purpose. I know that interim times create a lot of anxiety, and pastoral transitions lead to a lot of questions, a lot of, in some ways, a lot of angst, and in some ways, a lot of opportunity, in some ways, a lot of excitement. And I hope that we are able to honor the ways in which Cypress Lake has been church and the ways in which God is calling us to continue that great legacy, and also to be open to some new things that God may be doing, and see where God will take the congregation in this time and the next phase of its life together. And I try to name the difficulties and challenges that are created in times of transition, and allow space for people to voice those concerns and those questions. But also, I know, just as God has throughout the ages, God will continue to lead and guide and be with us all as we seek to listen at how God's at work among us now.